As you know, I was 5, and I was adopted after my mother got married, I was adopted by my stepfather. So I took his name as well as my sister and I both got adopted. So I was about 6, I think, when that happened. And, I had, a normal childhood after that, until I was 13, and I was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus. You can look that up. Systemic lupus erythematosus.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I don't know exactly sure what all that meant, other than I was diagnosed with lupus. And I remember I was in my 6th grade of elementary school, and I was always tired. Instead of playing with the other kids at recess, I always sat with the teacher on the bench, and I went home and I was just so tired. And I was running a low-grade fever, and I had the typical red rash on my cheeks. So my mom took me to a pediatrician who sent me to a specialist in Miami. At this point, we're living in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
And so I was diagnosed with lupus, and I ended up staying at Jackson Memorial Hospital for 3 months, and at which time I took chemotherapy. I had a doctor who was from Cuba at that time.
Okay.
And my parents were told I had about a year or less to live because it had been so aggressive. Of course, I didn't know that, but that's why my parents were open to anything they could do as far as trying to get me better.
Sure.
So I had I lost it. Chemotherapy. I'm sorry, and I was homebound for my 7th grade of school, and I had a teacher, homeschool teacher, that would come in. Again, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, so I got better enough to leave the hospital after 3 months, and it was really very. Let me think of the word. I got bored. Easy that way. My parents worked in Miami, so they were gone. So I was homebound my 7th grade, and I remember I used to get so bored that I would call the operator. I would dial 0 on the phone and say, "Can you talk to me? I'm really bored." So sometimes they would and spend 5 minutes with me, and other times they say, "No, we can't." But I just remember doing that, not thinking there was anything wrong with it. So dial 0 for the operator, and you get to chit chat.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I was homebound, and because my immune system was so low with lupus, I had my hair. I lost my hair when I was 13, and that was really traumatic, and being homebound. So finally, I talked my mom into letting me go out and go to church one Sunday. So, we thought that was cool. When I came home about a week later, I caught shingles. So it was like, oh my goodness. So my 7th grade of school was kind of traumatic. But at that point, on my 8th, I went to high school in Fort Lauderdale High, and I joined theater. I was in that because it was something my mom would let me do as opposed to a lot of other activities.
Sure.
So I was in theater for 4 years and loved it. And one of the women I met that worked there was Susan White, which will come up later in the story. So I graduated from high school, and I had to choose a university to go to. And my parents wanted me to stay within the state because of less money to pay out. It was cheaper. Sure. So they lived in Fort Lauderdale, and my mom was very protective. She was Cuban, and she had been through so much with me. She wanted to just wrap me up and keep me in the house forever. Yeah. So I went to I was accepted to Gainesville, to University of South Florida, and FSU. So the one that I went to was as far away from Fort Lauderdale as I could get, which was FSU.
Okay.
So that's my big reasoning to go there. So I was taking my basic classes and ended up at the end trying to do interior design. I remember I went into archaeology for a while, and we went on a dig, and, you know, it was fun. And I remember breaking one of my fingernails. And I'm like, all right, that's okay. This is too physical for me. I'm not going to do this anymore. So that's how I ended up in interior design, which I had just started before I got attacked. So I'm a freshman now at FSU and going through Rush, and one of the sororities that were interested in calling me back was Chi Omega, because Susie White was a sister at Chi Omega. So she went ahead and talked to them, and they invited me to join as a pledge, which I did, and this was the fall of 76. So in the spring of 76, I got initiated as a sister at Chi Omega.
Okay.
So meanwhile, at FSU, when I first started, I lived in a dormitory that was women only, of course, because my mother just insisted. So in the fall of 77, my parents talked me into, allowed me to move into the sorority house because they thought it was so much safer there than living in a dormitory where God knows who could walk in and do anything.
Right.
So, you know, they were not happy I was there. So I moved into the sorority house in the fall of 77. And December, I remember going out with my mom shopping, and we bought new bedspread and, new sheets and everything. So that was such a fun time. And I was in a room with Karen Chandler.
Yep.
So it was a double room. So that's, okay, so that's the fall of 77. And then the January 78 is when I was attacked. So January, we were attacked on the morning of the 15th, which you know all of that. And the day of the attack, on the 14th, I went to a wedding. One of the couples at a small church I joined was getting married. So she was a nurse, and I'm not sure what his degree was in. So I went to a wedding during the day, got home, decided to do homework So I sat on my beautiful new bedspread and did my homework.
Right.
Karen was on her bed, and our room was really small. It contained two twin beds that ran parallel with each other, and a little footlocker in the middle. And a lot of times when I say footlocker, people think tennis shoes, but I think you're in the age range. Maybe you know it was like a trunk.
Oh yeah.
So there was a trunk between our beds, and then two little dressers, and a big row of curtains that were in the back. We were on the second floor, facing the back of the house. So on the night of the 14th, night of the 15th, night.
Yeah,
All right. On the night of the 15th, whatever night that was, went to bed around 10:30, and I'm not sure, around 3:34, whenever that time range.
Yeah.
I remember hearing, Margaret got attacked first. She was strangled.
Yes.
And bludgeoned. Her bed and my bed were on the same plane, the same parallel. We had a thin wall between the rooms, as a dormitory would, and there were, down the hall, there might have been 12 rooms, no, more than that. As you walk away from the front door, on the second floor.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many rooms there were, but I was the second room on the left.
Okay, yeah.
Margaret was the first. Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm looking at a little thing, and it illustrates 10 rooms.
Okay, good. Okay, so my room, my bed, and Margaret's bed were right along the wall, to each other. And so he attacked and strangled and killed her and put her sheets back so she looked like she was sleeping. And then he went across the room on the right side, just right across, and that was Lisa's room.
Uh-huh.
And, what he did to her.
Yeah.
And the whole time I didn't hear anything, even next to Margaret. So he left Lisa's room, came right back across the hall to my room, and walked in, and I remember hearing something. It kind of woke me up a little bit when I heard the door open.
Sure.
And let me get to a point there. I used to ask Karen if we should lock our doors, and she, our bedroom door, and she goes, "What, you're afraid of, one of the sisters are coming in?" I'm like, "No, it's okay," So that brought up the point where Bundy just opened the door. Of course, we didn't know it was Bundy at that time. It was a bad man.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I remember it done. So when he opened the door, he tripped actually around over the trunk, because it was so tight between our beds and the trunk. So he attacked me first, and when I woke up, it was dark in the room, so all I saw was like this black figure, an outline of a man, and I saw him raise the club up, his arm, put it that way, over his head, and slam it down on my face.
Yeah. Oh.
And I'll never forget that. And when he did that, it felt like a thud. It didn't hurt. It was weird because, you think it would feel like a knife, but it didn't. It just was a thud. Yeah. And then I remember Karen woke up, and when he attacked me, my jaw was shattered in 3 places. My mouth, I almost bit my tongue off. I had lacerations in my cheek that kind of flipped open. And then Karen got attacked, and when she was being attacked, he came back over to my side of the bed because he heard me moaning, and he never leaves victims alive.
Sure. So
he was coming back to my bed to finish me off, I guess. When he was back on that side, Nita Neary was coming home from a date, and our curtains were open because we hung plants on the curtain rods. So when her date was driving to drop her off, the lights illuminated in our room, his car lights.
From the south side
and
of the...
he saw...
From the south side, right?
Yep.
That's where your window was?
From behind. I'm not sure direction. I just know it was behind.
Okay. Sorry.
So it was a horseshoe parking lot. I don't know if you can see that much on the diagram. So when her date let her off, the light showed up in our room, and at that point I could see a figure. He didn't have any defined face or anything for me. I wear glasses, and at that point I was attacked. My mouth, my eyes were swelling, and I couldn't see a face or anything. But he thought when the room lit up that he was seen. So thank God he left our room and went down the hall, and we had a grand staircase in the front of the sorority. So when you walked in the front door, there was majestic, spiral curved stairway that went up. So he thought he was seen, and he ran out and went down the front stairs right to the front door and went out, at which time Nita saw him on the side. So she was able to write his description down. And so after that, my roommate Karen came out of the bedroom and was very bloody and bludgeoned. So they walked her back to our room. And when I say there were 2 girls in the bathroom.
Right. And
they were talking and everything. And they were leaving the bathroom, and they went to turn the lights on because the hallway was so dark. But Bundy had twisted the lights, so they were still in there, and the light bulb was off. Oh. So even though they flipped the light, he could not illuminate the hallway. So that was premeditated, obviously. So Karen went back to her room because the 2 sorority sisters came out of the bathroom and walked her back into the bedroom, at which time they saw me sitting up in the bed, rocking back and forth and moaning. And they saw that I was bloody and the room was bloody. So they went ahead. So they took Karen back into her room, and saw me, and at that point knew something was up, and they called 911. And now the sisters are all being woken up, and what's going on? And when the police got there, they saw what was happening, and they decided to go room by room and make sure all the sorority sisters were together, because one of them said, "Yeah, I saw Margaret earlier tonight, and Lisa, she was in her room earlier." So when they went to those two rooms, is how they found their bodies, and that was the way it was kind of processed. So in my room, the paramedics came, and I remember they said, I'm like moaning, and I can't talk, and I'm screaming in my head, and they won't answer me, they won't help, they just couldn't understand. And I obviously was just moaning, but in my head, I'm talking and screaming, and so they were taking care of me, and where my cheek was flapped open, when he attacked me, it was like a big hole, and my skin was flapped. He said, "It's okay, honey, you've been shot in the face, and we're going to take care of you." Which at that point, I was like, "Ooh," and I kind of passed out for a few minutes. So he was taking care of me and put me on the gurney and carried me down the front stairway, which was, like I said, beautiful. And at this point, all I saw were people their heads looking down at me while I'm on the gurney, because no one knew what was going on. The police officers, everyone there was just looking at me down, and I'm laying in the gurney looking up. And I remember that was just creepy. I'll remember that forever. It's just like 5 or 6 heads looking down on me. And when we went out the front door, I remember it was very, very cold, and on the gurney, there was the police lights, and there was the ambulance lights, and there were all kind of yellow, blue, green lights. And I'm still not knowing what's going on. And I keep saying it almost looked like a carnival, with all the lights and, people talking. And it reminded me of, it's okay, this is a carnival. Yeah. So they ended up putting me in the ambulance and taking me to the hospital, local hospital. And I remembered at Christmas, when I got my bedspread and everything, I got new pajamas. I got a flannel nightgown, yellow, which I loved. So at the hospital, in the emergency room, they're cutting my beautiful yellow nightgown off, and they're examining my wounds and looking at everything. My shoulder, this is on my right side, my shoulder was kind of scratched to the point where you could see skin and bone. It was mutilated, I guess you could say. So, and I was laying on my left side when I got attacked. So I remember the commotion in the hospital, and I was scared, and I was cold, and I didn't know what was going on. And all of a sudden, I see another head. The doctors and nurses were all looking over me, and I saw a head I recognized, and that was the lady that got married the afternoon before. She was a nurse. Oh. She was in the ER. She looked over me, and I thought, oh, good. I recognized someone, and then I relaxed. I calmed down. Instead of being tight and not knowing, I knew her face, and she smiled at me. She said, "It's going to be okay." That was good. So at that point, they gave me something, and I went to sleep, and they went to the operating room, and they wired my jaw shut, and next thing, I'm in the bedroom, in the hospital room all by myself, and I had no visitors or anything, and I thought it kind of strange that my mom and dad and my girl, no one came to visit. And I didn't know there were guards at my door. There was a police officer guarding the door, and they wouldn't let my parents in or anything. And the doctor finally said, "Let her in," because they didn't know what had happened, so they couldn't give me anything in my head that would, fog it up or anything. Yeah. So, I was in the hospital, and I remember then my friends and everything came, my family, and they wouldn't let any coyotes in because, again, they didn't want me to get fogged up on what happened, and they were over me, all the police, all the time asking me questions, and I couldn't talk because my mouth was wired and saying, "I don't know what happened." If you clench your teeth, that's all you can say. So, I remember that going on, and I couldn't come up with enough information, so they allowed two psychiatrists to come in and talk to me. And long story short, they ended up hypnotizing me. And at that point, I gave account that I heard him walk in the room. He tripped over the trunk. That's how I know that happened, is because I was hypnotized. And I remember talking as best I could and thinking I was lying because I didn't remember any of that until, it came out was hypnotism. That's why I can put the story together now of the bedroom. So I was released from the hospital after about a week and was going to fly home to Miami, which my parents lived. And they took me back to Cayo. They wanted me to go back upstairs and look at my room to see if anything was missing or if I could see anything out of place. And I hated that. Each step on the stairs felt like an eternity. And they were just helping me go up the stairs. And I remember I didn't know the full extent of who and what had happened. So when I walked by Margaret's room, it was yellow crime scene tape. And against Lisa's room, there was yellow crime scene tape. So then the next room, I was number 8, so I went across the hall. There was yellow tape around my room, and I'm like a little confused. So they lifted the tape up for me to walk into our room. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
There was blood. There was blood all over the walls, all over my new bedspread, all over everything. And it was all over the floor, all over the trunk, and it looked like someone had just splattered paint everywhere. And I was upset about my new bedspread because it looked so bad. It's funny how your mind goes to things when things happen. So they told me to look around my dresser, and I couldn't tell because there was the black powder that they use for fingerprints. And whenever I didn't see blood, I saw the black powder. And I couldn't see anything was missing at that point because I was just freaking out. And I remember one of the questions the police officer asked at that point is, do you use red fingernail polish when you have a run on your pantyhose? And I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that. So anyway, I left the room. They walked me back out, and I went to the plane, and I was by officers and everything. It was really kind of cool being escorted by a police brigade. Yeah. At this point, they still didn't know anything, who, what, where was he coming back or the assailant. And so I went back to Miami, which is where my parents had moved to. And I didn't know the house. Everything was strange to me. So after about 3 weeks, my parents took me to an oral surgeon in Miami where he ended up breaking my jaw again because it wasn't aligned right. And when he did, he put 2 screws and a wire in my chin. So on each side under your ears, you have the joints from your jaw, the bone and socket, I guess. And so pins are there on each side, and under my chin it was separated, so he put that in with wires. So I was wired then again for 9 weeks, and I had already healed about 3 weeks, so the bone was already healing at which point. So when he had to re-break it, I remember it being tremendously inconvenient to say that, because, having to go through this all over again. So now I'm in Miami, and my teeth are wired shut, and the only liquid I could get was what I could get through my teeth, and they had also been shattered. I've read that my teeth fell out, but they did not. So just to correct that, it's something I've read or heard, and it's like, my teeth didn't fall out. I think Ken Sullivan said he had heard that. That's another guy I talked to. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, Kevin. I know Kevin. He's okay.
Okay. And he's been very, very kind with me. I mean, I've had so many questions, and he's helped me so much during this process.
Sure.
So now I'm wired shut and in Miami and all alone. I didn't have my sorority sisters that to me were blood. And I'd go in and call them almost every week, and a new pledge would answer the phone, which is one of their jobs, to take messages. So I'd give a message, and no one would call me. It seemed like forever. It was like 2 days. And I'd call again, and I'd call again. And finally, my mom said, it's upsetting you so much. Don't call. They'll call you, right. Which they never did. No one ever contacted me after that, none of the sorority sisters. So I recuperated in Miami and moved to Fort Lauderdale at that point with my parents. And Susie White had passed away. And so I was going to her funeral in Fort Lauderdale. And because I went to high school in Cayo with her, she was very, very important to me. So as I went to the funeral, all these sorority sisters were there because she was respected and loved as a Cayo sister.
Sure.
And when I walked in the room, all these Chi Omega sisters came around me and hugged me and, oh my God. I'm like, I pushed them away. We love you. Oh my God, it's great to see you. I remember pushing them away and saying, I don't need you now. I needed you a couple years ago when it happened. I needed to hear you. I need you to tell me it wasn't my fault. And you weren't there, so I have no time for you now. I don't even want to talk to you. I'm here for Susie White.
Yeah.
So that was the story with that. And they were like so apologetic and everything. So I went through that.
Wow.
Now to back up back to 78 after the attack, and I was recuperated. One of the same year, one of the things I was I guess mentally and physically I was beaten or messed up. So emotionally I was afraid of any man because I couldn't see his face. I didn't know who it was.
Sure.
So I worked at a lumber yard in Miami, and I figured that's where I'm going to see the most men I don't understand or don't know at a time because of, that's where they go. So I worked at a lumber yard for about 3 months, and I said, well, nothing's bothering me. I'm over this, So I know every man in the world didn't attack me.
Right.
Meanwhile, in Miami, I had guards at the door at my mom's house. There was a guard at the front door, a police officer, and one across the street in a car. So I worked at a lumber yard for 3 months and decided I didn't need to do that anymore. I was okay. And in 6 months after the attack in June, I was married. And I had only known David I met him in the fall of 76. And we didn't really start dating until like the beginning of 77, sometime. We didn't really date. We just kind of hung out with everyone at the church. I had never dated anyone else really to that in college. He was the first one I met and the first one I went out with as a group from the church.
Right.
So that was 78, and we got married, which ended in divorce in 81.
Okay.
I'll keep going, but I put that in there.
No.
So then I was really afraid of hospitals. Having lupus and staying one for 3 months, I couldn't even visit anyone. I couldn't walk through the doors. It was really traumatic. I would sit outside as people went in and visited people in the hospital. So I'm like, this is stupid. I can't walk into a room. I can't walk into a building with the hospital. And so I went to public relations and got a job at the hospital because I figured, okay, I'm going to do this every day. I want to walk into a hospital, which I did get the job I enjoyed for 18 years. I was in purchasing, and that was a wonderful job for me. And after a while, I wasn't afraid to walk in the hospital because, it was just okay then. I had fought that fear.
Yeah.
So that was later on in 78. And when I went back to the home and everything, my next job after I got married was to be a bank teller in a bank in Fort Lauderdale. So I was a teller for about a year, and I was coming down from lunch, coming down the stairs, and I was the next available teller after lunch. So we looked at this guy, and it was an old man branch. It was next to an old person facility. And all we saw were old people. He was this young-looking guy, and he was great. And, and I'm looking at him going, we saw him the other day, and he didn't come in anyone. He was just walking around and wrote a piece of paper and left. So we're kind of, suspicious of him. I was the next teller, so I looked at the head teller who was at her desk, and she looked up and saw him, and everybody recognized him. So I didn't know that she had pushed the button and for help so he's standing in front of me with a note. I'm robbing you. Give me your money. I have a gun. And he had like a little purse or a little thing on the desk, and he opened it up on the rail. And he opened it up, and I saw the gun. And now I'm like, my knees are knocking. I open the drawer, and I'm thinking, do I give him the 20s first or the 1s first? It was just, chaos in my head. So I'm facing him, which is out facing the lobby, and right behind me is the drive-thru. So I'm looking at him in the lobby. He's looking at me in the back drive-through. So the police drove up in the drive-through, and he sees them. I don't, and he goes running outside. I'm like, yeah, take it. Yeah, run. I thought I had done something, made him run away. Yeah. So he ran out the door. The police were there. Their guns, they were firing the guns and all this stuff. So it ended up they didn't kill him, but they caught him and made me ride by on a police car and say, is this guy? And I'm like, yeah, and I was way too close to him. And so it ended up there was a technicality during the arrest, but he was never taken to trial. So I decided I didn't want to be a teller anymore, and I worked in the as a savings counselor. I thought that was a lot safer.
Right.
So at that point, I'm like, okay, Lupus, being robbed, afraid of men, being attacked. I said, "Woo, this is enough, God." I had enough in my life. So in the fall of '80, I got pregnant. And because of lupus, I was told I should never have children because it would activate it and, the whole thing would start over again as bad as it was in the beginning. So I ended up having my son in August of '81, and his name was Michael, and he was healthy and beautiful, and I never got sick. Lupus never came back to the extent of as bad as it was, because it was in a dormant stage, and it started up again later. So in '81, I had a beautiful son, and he was 2 when I got divorced.
Okay.
So it was him and I for a number of years. And when I met my husband, Scott, he was in theater also in high school. So I'd known him for 4 years, and we started dating, and it was like dating your best friend. So we got engaged, and he finished his master's degree in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, it's easy to forget how young you were. I mean, you had just been freshly out of high school, and you started seeing this kid that you knew in theater from high school. It's just interesting.
Yes. So I started dating him when Mikey was about 5.
Okay.
And because he was 2 when we got divorced, and I was a couple years with not married, I was a single mom, and I loved it. So when Scott and I started dating, we kind of fell for each other pretty fast. And I remember saying to him, I don't need you in my life, but I choose to have you with me. And I remember I never was going to be dependent on anyone again, especially a man. Being independent for 3 years, and I didn't need anything. And he goes, I remember you saying that. He goes, I thought, well, you shouldn't need me, but good, she chose me. So we were married in '89, and it was a beautiful wedding. And Mike took to Scott first off, and he started calling him Daddy when we were like early into our courtship. So we were married. He got his PhD in Georgia.
Oh, cool.
And 4 years after that, after he graduated, we were going to try to have a baby. At which point I went to the OYGYN, and he did my physical exam to make sure everything was good, and he found a lump in my left breast.
Oh, no.
And he goes, did you know this? And I'm like, no, I don't know. He goes, so you didn't find it in your self-exam? And I'm like, well, not that I did any. So my husband now is in Europe, working and studying in Finland with some other scientists. And when he first found the lump, it was the size of a pea or your fingernail.
Uh-huh.
And when Scott got home, I didn't tell him about it until he got home because he was there doing something wonderful and working. And, I figured in a month, he'd be home and everything would be okay. By the time I went back when he got home, it was the size of a walnut. It had grown so fast. So I was diagnosed after they did the biopsy with breast cancer, and I told them to take the breast, take my arm, just get the thing out of me. I didn't want to be left with any cancer. And as I understood, the cancer has like little fingers, and I wanted everything out. I didn't want to have this come back, so I had a radical left mastectomy, and they took my lip glands and everything. It was stage 2 cancer.
Wow.
So I went again with chemo for 9 months and began losing my hair again. I don't know if I told you when I was 13, the chemo made me lose my hair completely.
You did.
I don't know if I mentioned that. So at 13, there I was with no hair. I couldn't go out, and it was kind of a freaky, not a good time in 7th grade. So here I am. This was about 94. 94. I was 32 and diagnosed with breast cancer, which had no history in my family. So, and no history of lupus. So I was breaking as as a family member. So I had radical mastectomy. I had 9 months of chemo, and I had 4 surgeries since then because of the chemo, the surgery, and everything. So I'm trying to think if I forgot anything.
Oh, I've got a couple of questions, but I was just going to comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to comment first that, geez, you've been to hell and back with this. So I love how you've confronted your fears too, the lumberyard and the bank teller job and just those sorts of things.
The hospital. I remember that hospital was like, how stupid not being able to walk into a hospital. As much as I could talk me down, I couldn't do it. Yeah. And that's when I got the job at Human Relations Resources. Yeah, I do face my fears. I do, and Bundy wasn't going to take that away from me. Bundy wasn't going to change me. Yeah. I was tagged, and I was a survivor, but I didn't want to be labeled a survivor because I had come through lupus, and I was stronger because I was going to be. Yeah. You know, lupus wasn't going to take my life and make me be in a room all day and afraid to do anything. I just went outside and, caught shingles, but after that, I was just, ready to live life. And in Fort Lauderdale High School, I loved it in theater. I could be anyone I wanted to be in theater. I wasn't the kid that had lupus and lost her hair. I could be anything and anyone. And I remember loving that because I could step away from who I really was and be playing any woman I wanted to be. So we actually was in theater, and we did a mime troupe where we were black and white makeup and outfits. So that was a great time for me in high school. And I was so excited to join college, and then in 78 I was attacked. And I remember thinking after that and in the hospital and at my mother's houses, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't. I was in my bed, and I couldn't blame me for doing anything. So it helped me heal by knowing, like lupus came at me with such force, and I had to get over it. And I didn't ask for that. No. So I didn't ask to be attacked, and I was a survivor, but I didn't want to be labeled. Yeah. With everything I did, I didn't want to be labeled as a survivor because I felt like I was just living life, and I was happy, and, survivor is a title, but I wanted to, and I've used this before, I wanted to thrive in my life. I didn't want to be put in a label and say, okay, that's what you are. Yeah. I wanted to break out of that. I didn't want to be a survivor. So the other things that happened in my life, I broke out of it because I didn't want to be labeled as that. And I think that's why I faced my demons, because I wasn't going to let anything put me in a room and knock me down and feel sorry for myself.
Good for you.
So when I got married, my husband said, "Oh my God, you're the strongest woman I know." And it's weird because I'm just me. This is what I do, And it's like when I look at it, going attack, lupus, gunpoint. I look at all breast cancer. So any questions up to that point?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Let me backtrack a little bit, if you don't mind. As I was looking back, I'll go back to the attack day. I was looking at this map, and I've read all the reports and different things, but it's your understanding that Bowman was attacked first. I know that they found a lot of bark around her bed. So what I'm seeing is like he entered on those west doors, that back door that was unlocked, right? Was he able? How did he walk by all these rooms, including yours? Do you think if he went underneath on the first floor, was there a stairwell that came up the other side?
Yes, there's a back staircase.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. I think he came in the back door, which the combination lock on the back door is broken.
That's right.
So you just had to open the door and come in.
Right.
And we had a pile of firewood right next to the door because we had a fireplace right there. So I think when he opened the door, he went through the rec room, not knowing there was a back staircase, which had another row on each side of rooms for the sorority sisters.
Okay.
So I think that time he came in the back door and went to the front of the house and went up those front stairs,
Gotcha.
not knowing there was a back stairway. So that's when he come up the front stairs and undid the light bulbs in the sconces and attacked Margaret and did have a lot of bark, and then attacked Lisa.
Okay.
And when he came to my room, I didn't know what he was holding. And I saw a club over his head, but it was the firewood. And when he hit me, I had bark in my face. So that's how they determined also that it was a piece of firewood that he had brought in. He didn't have something that he used. I mean, he picked it up and brought it in with him.
Yep.
Well, we didn't lock the doors because, Karen said, we don't lock them.
Okay.
So the first room, when he came in, the first room on the left was Margaret's.
Yes.
He just opened the door and attacked Margaret. I think it was that easy for him. At this point, I think he's kind of knowing what he's doing and thinking, oh, there's someone easy to get. So he attacked her right across the street, vertical to her room. If he took a right, was Lisa's room.
Yeah.
Of course, the room wasn't locked, and he went and attacked her. He walked across the hall back to parallel to Margaret's room, and that's where my room was, right next door.
Okay.
So he opened the door, and he was just crisscrossing the hallway. And he opened the door and attacked us.
Right.
I think he would have kept going right down the hallway if the lights hadn't shown up in our room.
Yeah.
Which, to me was like, miraculously the light shone up and, God was going to take care of us because, not knowing what to do, He shone the light up. And in my mind, I see it that way. I see it as spiritual.
Yeah, sure.
So because of that, that's why he left.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he got spooked bad, which he should have been. But so that's interesting. Did you ever spend any time over at Sherrod's at any point?
No, I had not. And Margaret did. Margaret had long hair parted in the center, long brown hair. So I think he picked her out. I know he was there for a while, and I don't know the whole story other than what I've read. So this is hearsay on this part of it. But he followed her home, as far as I understand, and saw that she just opened the door without a combination, just opened it and walked in.
Yes.
So I think he knew that was his way of getting in. And I don't know if he thought he was just going to follow Margaret and go to her room, not knowing the lay of the land. But he attacked her first, and then he went to Lisa, who had short hair that was kind of streaked blonde. And then when he came back went to our room, I had short curly hair, and Karen had long blonde hair. So we did not fit the victimology right now, but he didn't care. I think he was in a state of frenzy at that point. I think at the beginning he was premeditated and knew what he was doing, the way he covered Margaret up with sheets, and then as he went to Lisa's and got more violent. And I think at that point he lost control of what he was doing, and it was very important for him to be in control.
Yes.
He's been in control of his life, letting people see him as what he was or what he wanted them to see.
Yes.
I think as a student and normal, and helping other people and doing things that were totally out of his comfort zone. But he wanted people. He was like
narcissistic.
Narcissistic. Okay, he was that kind of personality as far as I'm concerned. And so he wanted people to see what he was, but I think when he was in our house in the sorority and he attacked Lisa, I think he completely lost control of how he murdered and how he did his normal routine, his MO. So I think then when he came to our room, he was just amazingly into his frenzy.
Yeah.
I don't think he thought through that one either. I think he was just thinking he was going to go door to door and just kill as many as he could. So he attacked us, and he was going to beat us to death, and then, probably go to the next room. So I think at that point, that's the way he was. But he was quiet. He attacked her first and beat her, knocked her out, and then strangled her with the pantyhose.
Yeah.
And I never knew if she had red nail polish on her pantyhose. So I don't know if he brought them in or if he, used hers. And I would think he would use what she had instead of carrying all this equipment. Because I don't think when he was in the bar that he thought of taking stuff with him like he had in the car.
Right.
I think he was just following her home. So, so I should have heard something, but I didn't. At that point, I was sleeping. But, it could have been that I did, and I'm not sure, but it kind of woke me up a little bit at that point, so I wasn't in a deep sleep when he came into our room. I remember hearing him trip over the footlocker. They must have been 2 feet on each side of the foot, maybe 3 or 4. I don't know. It seems small. It gets smaller every time I tell it. But, it was the trunk, maybe 3 feet on each side where our beds were, because it was a small room.
Sure. And
so I remember him attacking me and hitting me, and at that point he heard Karen, so he walked across. I don't know if he tripped over the trunk at that point again, or I'm not sure the situation on that, and that's when he attacked her. And when he knew I wasn't dead, he came back and hit me again because everyone he leaves dead. So I think at that point he was attacking me again and was going to go back to Karen. But when he was attacking me is when the light shone up in the room.
Sure. Oh, I could see how that would strike you as a divine intervention for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you also went to the trial later in Miami, is that correct?
Yes. Let me back down. I forgot one other thing that happened after my breast cancer. About 9 months later, we were going to try to have a child, which I got pregnant, and after about 12 weeks, I had a miscarriage.
Okay.
And lost the baby.
Yeah.
So, less than a year later, we tried again to have a baby, and I got pregnant, and 15 weeks, I had another miscarriage. So, and we don't know, obviously it was the chemo. We weren't thinking other than, let's have a baby,
Yeah.
And let's live our life. Let's do what we want to do for a change. So I had the 2 miscarriages after the breast cancer. So I just wanted to put that in case I didn't want to forget about it.
And you're so upbeat, and you've retained your sense of humor. It's wonderful.
Yes, I mean, I'm not going to live in a hole or a box. I'm going to, Mikey is 38 now. I have 2 grandchildren, and, life's wonderful. I have 2 wonderful dogs, and I live in Fort Lauderdale. We have a single shotgun. I don't know if you know the houses here, and it's about 1,000 square foot, our house. Okay. And a shotgun goes straight back. Everything's straight back. And a single shotgun is one existing house by itself. Mm-hmm. A double shotgun is two houses next to each other. So it's like if you wanted to open it up and make it a big single house, you could. Otherwise, it was divided into 2. We're freestanding, so we don't have another house next to us right close. We're like, I don't know. We're pretty close next to the next door neighbors. You should pull up a Google or something and look at New Orleans and kind of see the houses, how close they are.
Yeah.
But so our house is about 140 years old.
Wow.
And they keep the original doors and windows, and as much as, the walkthroughs and the rooms and everything, they keep it as much authentic as they can. And the stuff that's rotten or they replace. So this is about really old house, and we love it. We love it very much. We have 3 rooms, so not very big.
Oh, man, I love it. Now, were you there during Katrina?
Yes.
Wow.
I think the storm hit on I don't know the dates. It was 28th or 29th, the morning of, we were going to stay, it was a Cat 3. So we were going to stay, and the neighbors were going to stay, and most people in the neighborhood were going to stay. And then we heard it went to a Cat 5, and we, jumped into the ragtop Wrangler. We had 3 dogs at that time. We threw them in the car and left. We went to to Texas, where my sister lived, and 400,000 of our best friends were on the road to visit. So it was so traumatic. It took like 12 hours to go, and we'd stop and get gas. That means we'd get out of line, which wasn't moving anyway. And the dogs were wonderful. They just sat there for 12 hours. We'd stop, of course, and let them pee and get back in. They didn't whine or bark or anything.
Yeah.
And we had refugee painted all over the soft windows of the Jeep, and people were so nice to us. When we get off to do something, if we eat or whatever, they say, listen, let us pick this up. You just keep going.
Wow.
So it was amazing. So we left middle of August, and we could not get home until almost the end of October. So we were on the road with 3 dogs, no clothes. We just ran in the car and left, which everyone on the block ended up leaving as well.
Yeah.
And we kept in touch. There were 2 people that stayed, and both of them were next door to us, and both of them had second and third floors. So they stayed in the neighborhood, and they had shotguns. And they said to us, you think your backyard with that 6-foot fence is safe? They hurdled that in like one step. So he would see them in our backyard trying to get in, and they would go, no, I don't think so. And they'd shoot a bullet in the air, and they're like, ran.
Yeah.
So he saved our house from being looted.
Same house.
But, yeah, it was amazing, and the bodies that were floating and the smell, and it was just amazing. I didn't have electricity until like February. I had no electricity. I had no gas. It was just, eat what we could, and I gave the dogs a lot of tuna fish, and, because I ran out of their food. And I remember on the corner, the Red Cross would come with gallons of water and gallons of bleach and, all kinds of stuff to help us, to get food, because everyone knew no one had anything. And they give us stuffed toys for kids, and I took a couple and gave them to the dogs, because they were just like hanging out with me. And they were Humvees. After I got back, there were Humvees riding around the street in the neighborhood with machine turrets on top. And they were just, going around the neighborhood. But to back up, when we came back, no one was allowed in my neighborhood. So we moved the barbed wire and came back into the side yard and pushed it back as far as we could.
Yeah.
And can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we pushed it back and got into the backyard and kind of hid from everybody. And the Red Cross would come like an ice cream, truck, and I'd hear them. I'd run out, get my food, a hot dog, whatever they had. I would run out and sit on the curb where they were and just eat. And it was like the best food I ever had. Jelly, I love it. So my experiences after Katrina were kind of really rugged, really just not a good thing.
Yeah.
So my husband worked at LSU in Baton Rouge at that time, so he went over there, and they had dormitories open with electricity and air conditioning. So he taught there. He's a professor. He was working here in New Orleans in LSU. So they put him up in Baton Rouge, and he would come home on the weekends. It was like a 2-hour drive. And I like, go back, because all you're talking about is good stuff. I'm suffering here. So it was just an awful time after Katrina.
Yeah, you're like, it sounds like you had a great time, honey. Wow.
My whole life, it's been fun. And I keep saying to God, okay, I've had enough. I keep running because you never know what hurdle's going to be next. But it's like, I'm tired of running, God. It's someone else's turn. Look at that person. I don't know who they are, but don't give them some bad groupie. Which, of course I didn't do. But it's just, you got to keep going. Yeah. That's you know, and I feel sorry for those, and I don't think bad of them, that the victims who can't move on, who are stuck into their situations, and I can't imagine being in an abusive situation that goes on and on. I mean, to me, those are the heroes. Sure. Those women that go through that, and you know, they're my hero. And my advice to them is, you know, if they've been a victim, just get it out, think it out, talk it out, whoever they can talk to, and that's what I did. I remember a stranger on the street. I'm like, let me tell you about Ted Bundy, you know, and I would read everything and I would watch everything until I got it all out of my system. But also, to get over it, it's baby steps. Yes. You have to walk one step and feel better about yourself and leave one step behind you of your memories. Sure. And then take another step. And each step you take clears up the memory behind you and kind of gives you perspective and gives you hope and dreams. Yeah. And, you know, you just got to walk away from the ugly that happened till you're in the light. And, you know, we didn't ask for the journey like Bundy took us on or whoever they got attacked by. We didn't ask for that journey, but we could turn that journey into ours, and we can make it anything we want to do. Just do it, and, you know, if it takes a while, just take each step and spit out the bad, and you'll go forward.
It's been a real honor hearing your story. One last question I wanted to ask. It's not tied to the Bundy thing, but I was curious what happened to your friend White when she died. Susan?
She passed away like 2 years after the attack, and she was actually on Space Mountain in Disney World, and she got off and had a heart attack and died right there. So we were friends with her family and everything. Being in theater, everybody knew everyone's family, and so you know, I didn't keep in touch with her family much after that because my life was going on, and you know, things progress, and it's just you keep going in life. You don't think everyone is behind you and, you know, need to take care of them anymore. Yeah. So it's that was my thought on it. Okay. But she was the one from high school. She got me in the sorority. Mm-hmm. You know, she passed away, which, you know, just that hurts. That's part of my life that I couldn't control, and you know, that hurts me that I couldn't help her. Or, you know, anyway, that's just the way I felt about that.